The Waco CG-4A was the most widely used United States troop cargo military glider of World War II. It was designated the CG-4A by the United States Army Air Forces, and named Hadrian in British military service. Designed by the Waco Aircraft Company, flight testing began in May 1942, and eventually more than 13,900 CG-4As were delivered. Design and development. The CG-4A was constructed of fabric-covered wooden metal and was crewed by a pilot and co-pilot. It had two fixed main wheels and a tail wheel. The CG-4A could carry 13 troops and their equipment. Cargo loads could be a 1/4-ton truck, a 75mm howitzer, or a 1/4-ton trailer, loaded through the upward hinged nose section. C-47s were usually used as tow aircraft. A few C-46 tugs were used during and after Operation Plunder. The USAAF CG-4A tow line was 11/16" diameter nylon, 350 feet long. The CG-4A pickup line was 15/16" diameter nylon, but only 225 feet long, including the doubled loop. In effort to identify areas where strategic materials could be reduced, a single CG-4B was built at the Tim Aircraft Corporation using wood for the main structure. Production. From 1942 to 1945, the Ford Motor Company's Kingsford plant built 4,190 model CG-4A gliders for use in combat operations during World War II. The Kingsford plant built more CG-4A gliders than any other company in the nation at much less cost than other manufacturers. The primary builders of the model CG-4A gliders were located in Troy, Ohio, Greenville, Michigan, Astoria, New York, Kansas City, Missouri, St. Paul, Minnesota, and Kingsford, Michigan. The 16 companies that were prime contractors for manufacturing the CG-4A were Babcock Aircraft Company of DeLand, Florida, Cessna Aircraft Company of Wichita, Kansas. The entire order was subcontracted to Boeing Aircraft Company's new Wichita plant, Commonwealth Aircraft of Kansas City, Ford Motor Company of Kingsford, Michigan, G&A Aircraft of Willow Grove, PA, General Aircraft Corporation of Astoria, Illinois, Gibson Refrigerator of Greenville, Michigan, Lacey Kaufman Corporation of St. Louis, Missouri, National Aircraft Corp. of Elwood, in Northwestern Aeronautical Corporation of Minneapolis, Pratt Reed of Deep River, PA, Connecticut, Ridgefield Manufacturing Company of Ridgeville, New Jersey, Robertson Aircraft Corporation of St. Louis, Tim Aircraft Company of Van Nuys, California, Waco Aircraft Company of Troy, Ward Furniture Company of Fort Smith, Arkansas. The factories ran 24-hour shifts to build the gliders. One night shift worker in the Waco Aircraft Company factory in Kansas City wrote, "Operational history. Whiteman Air Force Base was originally activated on 6 August 1942 as Sedalia Glider Base. In November 1942 the installation became Sedalia Army Airfield and was assigned to the 12th Troop Carrier Command of the United States Army Air Forces. The field served as a training site for glider pilots and paratroopers. Assigned aircraft included the CG-4A glider, Curtiss C-46 Commando, and Douglas C-47 Skytrain. The C-46 was not used as a glider tug in combat, however, until Operation Plunder in March 1945. CG-4As went into operation in July 1943 during the Allied Allied invasion of Sicily. They were flown 450 miles across the Mediterranean from North Africa for the nighttime assault, such as Operation Ladbrake. Inexperience and poor conditions contributed to the heavy losses. They participated in the American airborne landings in Normandy on 6 June 1944, and in other important airborne operations in Europe and in the China-Burma-India theater. Although not the intention of the Army Air Forces, gliders were generally considered expendable by high-ranking European theater officers and combat personnel, and were abandoned and destroyed after landing, while equipment and methods for extracting flyable gliders were developed and delivered to Europe. Half of that equipment was rendered unavailable by certain higher-ranked officers. Despite this lack of support for the recovery system, several gliders were recovered from Normandy and even more from Operation Market Garden in the Netherlands and Wesel, Germany. The CG-4A found favor where its small size was a benefit. The larger British airspeed Horsa could carry more troopers, and the British General Aircraft Hamilcar could carry 7 tons. But the CG-4A could land in smaller spaces. In addition, by using a fairly simple grapple system, an in-flight C-47 equipped with a tailhook and rope-breaking drum could pick up a CG-4A waiting on the ground. The system was used in the 1945 high-elevation rescue of the survivors of the Gremlins Special 1945 crash in a mountain valley of New Guinea. The CG-4A was also used to send supplies to partisans in Yugoslavia. After World War II ended, most of the remaining CG-4As were declared surplus and almost all were sold. Many were bought for the wood in the large shipping boxes. Others were bought for conversion to towed camping homes with the wing and tail end cut off and being towed by the rear section, and others sold for hunting cabins and lakeside vacation cabins. The last known use of the CG-4A was in the early 1950s by the USAAF with an Arctic detachment aiding scientific research. The CG-4As were used for getting personnel down to and up from floating ice floes, with the glider being towed out, release for landing, and then picked up later by the same type of aircraft, using the hook and line method developed during World War II. The only modification to the CG-4A was the fitting of wide skis in place of the landing gear for landing on the Arctic ice floes. Variants. Prototypes 2 built plus 1 stress test article. CG-4A main production variant. Survivors became G-4A in 1948. 13,903 built by 16 contractors. CG-4B1 Tim built CG-4A with a plywood structure. 1 CG-4A converted with 2 Franklin 6 AC-298 and 3 engines by Northwestern. 1 CG-4A converted with 2 175 horsepower Ranger L440-1 engines by Ridgefield. XPG-2A2 articles. XPG-2 engines changed to 200 horsepower plus 1 CG-4A converted also with 200 horsepower engines. PG-2A production. PG-2A with 200 horsepower L447S, redesignated G-2A in 1948. 10 built by Northwestern. XPG-2B cancelled variant with 2 R775-9 engines. CG-4A transferred to the United States Navy. G-2A, G-4A, G-4 CG-4A with different tow bar. 35 conversions. Hadrian Mk. Royal Air Force designation for the CG-4A. 25 delivered. Hadrian Mk. 2 Royal Air Force designation for the CG-4A with equipment changes. Operators. Canada Royal Canadian Air Force. Czechoslovakia Czechoslovakian Air Force operated 2 or 3 Wacos, designated NK4. United Kingdom Army Air Corps Glider Pilot Regiment, Royal Air Force No. 668 Squadron RAF, No. 669 Squadron RAF, No. 670 Squadron RAF, No. 671 Squadron RAF, No. 672 Squadron RAF, No. 673 Squadron RAF. United States Army Air Forces, United States Navy. Accidents and incidents. The 1st of August 1943, CG-4A Row 4278839, built by contractor Robertson Aircraft Corporation, loses its right wing and plummets to Earth immediately after release by a tow airplane over Lambert Field, St. Louis, Missouri, USA. Several thousand spectators had gathered for the first public demonstration of the St. Louis-built glider, which was flown by two USAAF crewmen and carried St. Louis Mayor William D. Becker, Robertson Aircraft co-founder Marge William B. Robertson, and 6 other VIP passengers. All 10 occupants perished in the crash. The accident is attributed to the failure of a defective wing strut fitting that had been provided by a subcontractor. The post-crash investigation indicts Robertson Aircraft for lax quality control, and several inspectors are relieved of duty. Surviving aircraft. Fagan Fighters World War II Museum, Granite Falls, Minnesota. Menominee Range Historical Foundation, Iron Mountain, Michigan. U.S. Army Airborne and AMP Special Operations Museum, Fayetteville, North Carolina. The Fighting Falcon Museum, Greenville, MI. Kalamazoo, Michigan. National Museum of the United States Air Force, Wright-Patterson AFB, Ohio, AAF Sir. No. 4527548. National Infantry Museum, Fort Benning, Columbus, Georgia. 82nd Airborne Division War Memorial Museum, Fort Bragg, Fayetteville, North Carolina. Air Mobility Command Museum, Dover AFB, Delaware, AAF Sir. No. 4515009. Carolinas Aviation Museum, Charlotte Douglas International Airport, Charlotte, North Carolina. National Soaring Museum, Musée Airborne. Silent Wings Museum, Lubbock, Texas. Cumbria's Museum of Military Life, Carlisle Castle, Carlisle, Cumbria, UK. Museum of Army Flying, Middle Wallop, United Kingdom. Don F. Pratt Memorial Museum, Fort Campbell, Kentucky. Airborne D-Day Museum, St. Mère-Église, Normandy, France. Cradle of Aviation Museum, Long Island, New York. Janks Air Museum, Chino, California. Museum Bevride and Vleugelsbest, the Netherlands. Pima Air and AMP Space Museum, adjacent to Davis Monthan AFB in Tucson, Arizona, AAF Sir. No. 4514647. Specifications. Data from Aviation Enthusiasts Corner and Pilots Flight Operating Instructions for Army Model CG-4A Glider. General characteristics: crew, 2 pilots. Capacity, 13 troops, or quarter-ton truck, and 4 troopers, or 6 liters. Length, 48 feet 8 in. Wingspan, 83 feet 8 in. Height, 15 feet 4 in. Wing area, 900 feet squared. Empty weight, 3,900 pounds. Loaded weight, 7,500 pounds. Useful load, troop carrier, 4,197 pounds. Cargo carrier, Jeep, 4,197 pounds. Cargo carrier 75 mm howitzer, 4,197 pounds. Max takeoff weight, 7,500 pounds. Max takeoff, 9,000 pounds. Performance never exceeds speed, 150 miles per hour is. Maximum speed, 150 miles per hour. CAS at 7,500 pounds, 128 miles per hour. CAS 135 miles per hour. IS at 9,000 pounds. Cruise speed, IS 72.6 miles per hour. Stall speed, 49 miles per hour with design load 7,500 pounds. Wing loading 8.33 pounds-feet squared, 40.7 kilograms per square meter. Rate of sink, about 400 feet per minute at tactical glide speed. Landing run, 600 to 800 feet for normal 3-point landing. Landing rolls of approximately 2,000 to 3,000 feet are to be expected at the higher emergency gross weights. Armament, none.